Last week, we went inside of West End, also known as Elizabeth on the Chattahoochee. This week, we're going to be talking about the controversies at the Indian Mound, where the gazebo sits. So come along with us, and we will be loving the real world. In 1870, Captain Nichols was building West End. He also looked across the field and saw this beautiful Indian mound. So he thought, if we take 24 inches off the top, we could put a gazebo up there, and we would have a great view. And he was right. Well, that's what I think happened. What do you think? Leave some comments below. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe before you leave today.
Today we're going to present two different versions of the story of the Indian Mound. First, I'd like to give you the oral history that I know. My grandmother was half Cherokee Indian and lived in Helen. She told me this story that the Cherokee Indian were buried throughout the Nacoochee Valley, and at one time all the graves were dug up and put into the mound. My mother remembers the people being very upset the artifacts were not remaining in the Nacoochee Valley. My mother and grandmother spoke of Mount Yonah as being Lover's Leap. An Indian princess and her lover were forbidden to marry, so they jumped off Mount Yonah holding hands.
And I always heard that the two lovers were buried at the Indian Mound.
The following information comes from the book Distant Voices, The Story of the Nacoochee Valley Indian Mound by Emery M. Jones. The book has several legends and a poem concerning lovers leaping from several different mountains. According to the book, the Nacoochee Valley Mound is about 1,000 years old. Before excavating, they measured the mound, which at the time was determined to be 231 feet in circumference, 17 feet and 3 inches tall. Archaeologists call the people who built these mounds the mound builders. The mound builders literally reached their peak during the Mississippian times. The Cherokee had almost nothing to do with building the mound and may have used it for a shorter period than the people preceding them. When the Cherokee arrived in the Nacoochee Valley, the mound we see today had already reached its highest level. Dr. White says the Cherokee often buried their dead near or even in the dirt floors of their homes or on the side of a nearby hill. In the summer of 1915, the Hay Foundation and the Bureau of American Ethnology did excavations.
Hardeman may have bought into the notion of the Cherokee having a stash of gold because the contract between Hardeman and Hay stated that all precious metals found would go to him. The reason Hardeman may have thought this is because gold was found nearby at Duke's Creek. During the digging at the mound, they did reveal that 75 human remains, which consist of 56 adults, 7 adolescents, 4 children, 8 undetermined, and animal bones were also uncovered like a fox.
Hay and his men dug down 48 inches and found 2 stone box graves, an effigy vase, which except for a small shard was in one piece. However, that night, boys broke it into pieces. A third were buried with artifacts indicating their social status.
These items were buried just after the first early contacts with the Europeans. Dozens of pots, copper shell beads, cups, pottery, glass beads, sheet brass ornaments, and a 1808 Spanish coin.
Evidence of huge ceremonies and probably continuous burning fires were also indicated at the mound. Human remains were in very decayed condition. Only a few were buried in stone slab crypts. Most of the skeletons were in a flexed or nearly fetal position with legs bent backward over the body. 4 people were buried stretched out and 1 sitting upright.
Inside of the mound was a smaller mound made of black soil and yellow sand. Underneath this smaller mound was a series of 5 unexplained pockets that were 2 to 3 feet deep and about 2 feet wide. They did contain some bones, but couldn't be identified as human.
Also found were antler and bone punches, tortoiseshell ornaments, pendants, hundreds of bear tusks, which were probably used for scratching and scoring of wood and pottery. The bear tusks were discarded to the garbage heap.
In the end, only the eastern half of the mound was uncovered. Since Hay was taking the artifacts back to New York, Harmon ordered the digging to stop. This was possibly due to the muddy mess and Harmon's concern for his corn crop. Artifacts were taken to the Hay Foundation in New York. Later, the bulk went to the Smithsonian.
The last paragraph of Hay's book, The Nacoochee Mound in Georgia, says, Nacoochee may be regarded as a typical Cherokee earthwork. While not rich in artifacts, the products of material culture are such as might have been expected to be revealed by the excavation of a Cherokee site occupied from prehistoric times through a considerable part of the historic period. I truly enjoyed the information, artwork of the Indian Mound, and interviews with the artist. This book is well worth the price.
2 great places to drop by after visiting Harmon Farms is the Old Salty Store in Nor Mills. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Loving the Real World. Well, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave some comments below if you really enjoyed this video. And join us again next week when we go to Helton Creek Falls, just north of Helen, a beautiful upper and lower waterfalls. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.